Hypnotic is a movie that's super under the radar. I mean, the trailer got hardly even 200k views, whereas basically every movie I watch has trailers that gets like a million views, if not a few million. I would not have even known that this movie was going to come out if I didn't read the movies list on the coming soon page of my local theater's website, like I normally do, right? And as soon as I watched the trailer out of curiosity and found out that it starred Ben Affleck, and it was kind of described as a mind-bending movie, man, I was keen. I was pretty damn interested. And it kind of reminded me of Synchronic. Hypnotic, Synchronic, basically the same sounding name, right? Obviously a different movie, but still with the mind-bending theme. And that movie was also, I believe, kind of under the radar as well. So I remembered, hey, Synchronic was amazing. It was one of the movies of the year for me. I remember I watched that movie online, then went back to theaters just to watch it again. It was so good. And just to see other people's reactions, since it came out in America like a few months before it came out here in Australia. So I thought, you know what? What if Hypnotic was the same and surprised me in the way that Synchronic did? It ultimately did, but I still have mixed thoughts on this movie, unfortunately. So Hypnotic stars Ben Affleck as a detective that learns that his missing daughter and a string of high-profile bank robberies might be connected. As he dives head-on down into the rabbit hole, he finds more than he had bargained for and goes on a mind-bending journey in hopes to find his daughter and stop whatever madness he has created. Now, this movie has received some fairly mixed criticism online. Some people love it, others not so much. I'm like right in the middle. I do appreciate how deceptively deep this movie was, at least for me. It's one of those movies where you don't actually know everything until it fully unravels itself. There are hints of things in this movie, but none of them could have prepared me for the full reveal, which was crazy deep. I thought I knew, but I actually didn't. And it's one of those where what you thought the movie was just a fraction of what it actually is. Though with that being said, I wasn't a huge fan of the concept. Without giving away too much, this movie just didn't make a whole lot of sense at times. And because of that, there's literally no limit to what you can do, right? And I mean, I don't know how I feel about that one. Like, no limits. I mean, I've talked about this before, right? For one, I'm not a huge fan. And for two, it just feels like with the unlimited boundary, it still feels like they could have done more with this movie and explored the theme to its fullest potential. But I will give it props for how mind-numbing it actually was. At one point I tried thinking about prior scenes with the unraveled plot in my mind and was like, whoa, that shit's crazy. And the fact that this movie still doesn't make too much sense to me just encapsulates the mind-numbing theme even further. And there is actually a mid-credit scene in this movie. Like, what? Like, I mean, I didn't even bother to search up if there was a mid or post-credit scene to this movie because, I mean, I normally do that every time. Like, without fail, after the movie ends, just because I want to get the most out of my viewing experiences, right? You know, like a moviegoer tries to do, right? Like, you know, but like, with this one, I was like, nah. But lo and behold, man, that mid-credit scene just came at me. It literally just came at me as soon as I got out my phone and just, man, it sets up a possible sequel and makes me even more confused and just itching to know more, I guess. That scene was crazy unexpected, just like this movie was. Ultimately, Hypnotic was a decent mind-bending movie. The final act really surprised me. I didn't really expect it at all, and I like how this movie ends up being something completely different to what I had in mind in the first place. I will say though, like, this movie didn't really keep me on the edge of my seat throughout. And I'd say that mostly kind of occurs in the first and I'd say mostly the second act of this movie. Like, a lot of things just didn't really make sense, that it kind of just disinterested me. And I was just like, okay, come on, get to it already. And also lacks that emotional element that I'd say Synchronic largely had that made it so successful for me. I mean, I know they are two, in a way, completely different movies with a different plot and all that, but I'm just saying, like, you gotta love an emotional element in a movie, right? It just makes you feel much more captivated and immersed, I guess, and just, get more deep into the movie. But this movie just didn't really do that for me. I'm going to give Hypnotic a B-. It was good, but I guess I've just seen better. I mean, I do appreciate how it tried though, but man, this movie at one point, it just kind of felt like an overload. I get, maybe my viewing experience was, because, okay, this movie, for me at least, my local cinemas, like, it was in the shittest room, right? The smallest room with the smallest screen. The one that you put old movies that released a month ago in, right? And also because I was tired. I mean, the sessions, there was one at 10:30 and one at 4:30. And I went to the 10:30 one, and I had like not even 6 hours of sleep or something. So it was hard to pay attention. Man, maybe that largely had a factor to do with, how I feel about this movie now. It was still good, but I mean, still, like I said, I feel like I'm seeing better. But yeah, anyway, guys, let me know what you think down below. Like and sub if you enjoyed, and as always, feel free to check out any of my previous videos. Until next time.